Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Text Podcast. My name is Voga and Ry.
And I am Ry, also known as the Mestizo Mystic. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's been a week since we've seen each other, and I don't know, I had a very, not stressful week. It wasn't, a special week in any way. It was just kind of just, just very not stressful. It was very, not exactly relaxed. I think I talked about in the last episode that I'm, in the process of, decluttering and rebuilding altars and things like that. So I'm still in the middle of that. I'm still kind of getting my space ready. My birthday is also coming up, so this is a good time for me to kind of revisit a whole bunch of stuff in my life, magically and within the mundane. So I look at my finances, I look at a whole bunch of stuff to kind of just revisit to make sure that everything is kind of kosher. I do that several times in the year. I do it during New Year's, I do it during my birthday, around my birthday, and I also do it at the end of the year, around October. All Souls Day is a really good time for me to kind of reset. So 3 times a year I do a little reset of my life, and I'm kind of in the middle of that. But yeah, I'm okay. I figured out some stuff that I was kind of worried about in regards to my finances. There are things that folks need to understand. It's when you live in Los Angeles, it's kind of hard to have a place of your own because LA is very expensive, and we're also in the middle of a housing crisis, whether you can afford it or not. Actually, most people can't afford it. Most people can't afford to live on their own, and I'm very blessed to be in a position where my parents still let me live with them, which is a grace that they don't have to give me. And I'm just kind of giving myself a multi-year plan of trying to get out of the damn house. As much as I love being with my parents, and as much as I love having a somewhat close relationship with them, my privacy has been compromised for a long time, and I need my own space. So I'm coming up with a little plan to try to get myself out of here as soon as possible. It's my student loan debt that's keeping me here. And student loan debt is it's crippling. I've been a clinician for almost 8 years now, and I'm still paying so much of my debt off. And I've barely made a dent because, I don't know, student loans are a trap. They're a fucking scam.
They really are.
I'm privileged enough to have a place where I don't have to pay rent. And so I'm going to take advantage of that for as long as I possibly can. While I pay my loan and while I adjust my wig. That was really awkward. I have to adjust my wig. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm trying to, we're figuring some stuff out business wise. We're trying to get our online shop going, which is something that we have to figure out. We have to figure out inventory. We have to figure out shipping and fulfillment, which is a pain in the ass because shipping is so expensive. So we're trying to figure stuff out, Franny and I. I'm doing a bit of research, a lot of reading right now because I'm going to be hosting a workshop the end of July or the beginning of August at the Crooked Path. I'm going to be doing a workshop on the Divine Mother.
Ooh.
I just got the green light to host a workshop there. So I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm writing the workshop right now. So it's good because I have a good month and a half to write it. So I get to take my time. I just ordered several books. One came today. 2 of them, the rest of them are supposed to come in tomorrow. But I got The Life of Mary, as seen by the mystic. So this is supposed to be like a story told through the eyes of mysticism, Catholic mysticism, and I'm really excited to read that. I'm obviously going through The Way of the Rose. Is going to be a really main source in this workshop, as well as the Judica Isles book, the Mystic Saints, and the Encyclopedia. So I'm going through some books. I'm doing some research to get ready for this workshop, which will be actually available online. So anyone who's not in LA can actually also be part of the workshop through Zoom. And yeah, so I'll keep you guys updated on that. I'm very excited because it's the first workshop I've ever hosted, I've ever spoken. And I thought, the Divine Mother was a good place to start because that's just kind of what my life is.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some things happening. Now that Blast Meet's over, everything's kind of slowed down a lot. So yeah, just living my life. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, first of all, that's super exciting that you're teaching a workshop. I can't wait to hear all about it. That's the same place that Franny was doing their Santa Muerte classes, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to hear about it. You can come. You can be there. I'll send you the link.
Oh, there you go. Did you say you know what day it is, or just the estimated?
I'm planning. It's probably going to be a course of 4. I'll pay for your first class. I want you to be at first class. I'll pay for your first class. But it's going to be probably 4 courses, once every week. So probably every Saturday in August, I'm probably going to host it.
How exciting. I'm really interested too, because I know when I last saw you in LA for Blasphemy, you were saying that you've been kind of having this gnosis that the Divine Mother is a separate entity than Mary, and I definitely want to hear more about that because I'm really interested.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a conversation I've wanted to have, only because I think the Divine Mother is subjective. I want to say the Divine Mother, the name of the Divine Mother is kind of like an umbrella term for anything that you could possibly think as the Divine Mother, because there's a lot of parallels. And I talk about this in the class as well. I actually just wrote this part where there's so many parallels when it comes to the Divine Mother in different aspects of different religions and different faiths and different walks of life. So there's a lot of parallels with Hera or with Juno, right? The Queen of Heaven and the Queen of Angels. The Queen of Heaven in ancient Rome and ancient Greek mythology, there are a lot of parallels to Mary, and that also parallels a lot of different feminine or motherly aspects in different in other religions around the world, and how Catholicism has influenced different traditions around the world, indigenous traditions around the world, as the aspect of Mary has a huge influence on, indigenous Filipino goddesses that in some way have influenced aspects of Mary that are specific to the Philippines, like the Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception. That's a very specific Marian aspect that's venerated in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. So I talk about kind of go into cultural context and just kind of an exploration of an uninstitutionalized veneration of the Divine Mother. So I kind of talk about that, and it's kind of in its infancy right now, so I'm kind of just trying to develop my talking points and seeing where, because I also want to make it interesting. I want to make it also practical. I want to talk about spell work that you can use in regards to working with the Catholic pantheon, which is something it's kind of lacking in the community that I have here in LA. It's not really something that people are talking about. So I was, grateful that the Crooked Path was willing to give me a platform, and give me the time, and give me the space to host a workshop.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to go great. Like I said, I can't wait to hear all about it.
Thank you.
I've been good. What the fuck have I been up to since I last saw you? I don't know if I mentioned the last episode, but I quit my job at the beginning of June. Realized that I just cannot work in banking, period, anytime in my life anymore. Yeah, just figuring out what I want to do creatively, or at least getting taking the steps forward to get everything in motion. I have more than an idea of what I want to do. It's just a matter of now planning the steps of how to implement it all. I feel like most of my stuff is likely going to start more online first before I'm able to do stuff in person. One thing I started listening to yesterday or watching is this I guess this nerdy channel called Geek and Sundry, but I got into it because one of the classes I'm taking this summer is how to use tabletop role-playing games as a therapeutic intervention with clients. And I was like really curious because I've never played role playing games like that, like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that. It's always seemed like too intricate for me. But yes, I've never really played tabletop role playing games like that. And it's interesting watching people play it, and all the people in this series who are playing it. It's the specific YouTube series is called Critical Role, and they're all voice actors, and I think they all live in LA area. I didn't realize that they were the whole reason that one of my favorite shows on Amazon became a thing, because their whole campaign that they're doing is this is all started back in like 2016. It's called Vox Machina, and that was like a favorite animated series of mine on Amazon. But I didn't realize they were the voice actors for them. So that's just been something I'm listening to, but there's like 8 years of content to catch up on, and each episode's like 3 to 5 hours long, so I'm definitely not in a rush to catch up on it. But it is really interesting to see people role play, and like improv is something that's really like out of my comfort zone and something I've never really done or experimented with, but I feel like could help me in certain ways of just like getting out of my comfort zone and like learning how to say shit and come up with shit on the fly. So it's a trip to see people play this game in real time, how they navigate like just the creation of these fantastical worlds and their characters and interacting with like NPCs. But yeah, other than that, I've just been watching more materials on like content creation, tips and tricks, and learning how to use DaVinci, because I've never used DaVinci Resolve for video editing, which all of y'all who are hopping on the hate Adobe train, which I don't blame you, DaVinci's completely free. So in case you needed an alternative. Other than that though, I've been watching Twin Peaks. Have you watched Twin Peaks?
No, I've never. Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is that animated?
No, it's a real show. It started in 1990, I think, and then there was 2 seasons, and then there was a prequel movie, and then in 2017 they came out with a continuation of the series, which was like Twin Peaks: The Return. But it's all about like figuring out this murder mystery of who killed Laura Palmer. But it's by David Lynch, and it's very just fucking weird, but like in really interesting ways.
Yeah. You know what? I've heard of it, but I've never. People say that I would like it. I don't know what it is.
It can be slow to get into, because I remember I tried watching it for the first time years ago, and I got 5 minutes into the first episode and said I couldn't do this. But a few months ago I had a dream, and even though I really never watched Twin Peaks, the dream was like related to Twin Peaks, and then as I was watching the series, like shit that happened in my dream was unfolding within the show, and like not exactly as it happened in my dream, but like the themes and like kind of like the character personalities. It was very it was very weird. Like it was very like tapped into the collective unconscious, and like as I was watching this show, I'm just like, this is pretty much the entire theme of what was going on when I dreamt this. And when I told my professor that, who's a huge fan of Twin Peaks, hence why they teach the class, they were like jaw dropped and astounded, because it's just yeah, it was a weird experience. But great show, highly recommend it. It's on Paramount Plus if you have that. But yeah, other than that, I've been getting more into photography, which has been nice, having a creative outlet, taking photos and editing, which I really missed.
Always great to do.
And then I guess the last thing for the check-in, I made an incense blend the other day, and oh my god, it's a fucking powerhouse. So it's a mix of frankincense, myrrh, copal, which even just that trio alone is chef's kiss, dragon's blood, like actual dragon's blood resin, and then
it's like the trifecta.
Right. And then there's a practitioner I love on Instagram who's based out, I want to say in the UK or somewhere in Europe. Their handle's Aconite Conjure, and they make this one line of products.
I follow Aconite Conjure. They're incredible.
Their products along the Dark Star line. Well, I had 2 Dark Star amulets. I lost one when I was just in LA. She has the Dark Star compound, which is like a powder. And the whole Dark Star line is focused on not only protecting you from harm, but reversing it and sending it back to wherever that harm originally came from. So like super fierce protection. And so I mixed some of that compound with the blend of frankincense, myrrh, copal, and dragon's blood. And when I used that to cleanse my space and myself, it was like, whew, like night and day difference. It felt amazing. So that's like my go-to incense blend now for like simultaneously banishing and blessing. And it was nice because I haven't really made like an incense blend like that before. Oh, and I guess something cute. I bottled up a bunch of spiritual oils I have into these little roller balls, so that way it's much more easy to carry in my bags and for travel, because carrying a 2-ounce dropper bottle full of oil is a pain in the ass. So now I can just easily anoint myself or certain tools or whatever with the little roller balls. So making magic convenient, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, I love all that. That's fantastic. Cool. I love those roller balls. Those are such great ways to carry anointing oils with you. I have a few. I have one with lemongrass in it, which is like one of my favorites. And you just like put it on your pulse points, and it's really easy to kind of just like anoint yourself throughout the day. Love that. Yeah, and I love frankincense, myrrh, and copal, and dragon's blood. I always see frankincense and myrrh as like one incense.
Right.
So frankincense, myrrh, copal, and dragon's blood. Like I said, it's like the trifecta of who I am. Like I use dragon's blood all the time. It's like one of my favorites, and copal is really great for blessings.
That was my first time burning dragon's blood resin. I'd only ever used like kind of like the spiritual powders of it, botanicas that are really not even probably dragon's blood at all, probably just like scent wise maybe, if even that. And so burning it and smelling it was very just great in and of itself, because I just, again, that was my first time using the actual resin, and definitely super potent. And I think it was in Scott Cunningham's book. It was either in Cunningham's book of herbs and shit, or it was Hoodoo Moses released their own book called like The Conjurer's Apothecary or something like that, and it just again details a bunch of different plants, resins, and herbs and their uses. And one of those two texts had just mentioned dragon's blood just amplifies whatever it's added to, so that's why this blend I feel like just absolutely has packs such a punch to it. But yeah, speaking of products,
yeah, okay, oh my god, so like our topic for the day is a topic that we've actually talked about for a long time we've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, but it's like professional magic, or being a professional practitioner, and what that means, and how to do it, and like what it consists of, what it looks like, because it looks different to everybody. It's definitely not necessary. Like not everyone who's a magical practitioner is, uses their practice or uses magic to make coin.
and that's okay.
And that's very okay. One, it's not an easy thing to do. It's very difficult. Now, just in saying that, like, for example, like Ry and I are both, professional psychics. We're professional practitioners in some respect, but in different ways, right? Some things parallel each other. But like when I first started, before I started selling products, and before I had a small business and a business partner and all this stuff, I was a professional reader. And, I don't necessarily think that divination and magic are synonymous with each other, but they're in some ways obviously related. But okay, so let's go into, what does it mean to be a professional practitioner? What does it mean to be a professional anything, right? It's really just like going into the fact that you're using your skills, you're using the things that you've learned through your practice, through your magic, through your spell casting, to make money, to charge for your services, to charge for the things that you know how to do. I know that there is an ethical aspect to it that I'm sure that we're going to talk about tonight, because there is an ethical aspect that you need to be aware of. And just in case anyone in our audience wants to go into, using their practice to make money, there are things that I think that you and I have done and learned, and I think we have a perspective that would be very useful. I've been a professional magician for 3 years now, and I've been practicing. I've had a magical practice for, I don't know, 6-7 years now. Almost 8, I want to say. When was 2015? Yeah, so 8 years. Anyways, so that's just kind of because because I'm sure that our audience has purchased products from other practitioners. I'm sure that they've supported small businesses. I'm sure that they've bought an oil from a botanica, which is capitalizing on magic, which is a strange thing to say because you can't capitalize on magic. It's not possible. You don't capitalize on the magic itself. You kind of capitalize on what you're able to do with the magic, right? Which is kind of capitalizing on magic. But semantics, whatever. So what professional? Okay, what is professional? What does it mean to be what does professional magic mean? It just means to be able to make money on magic, being able to use your craft, being able to use your magic to make money, to charge, and to be able to offer products and services to folks who, one, maybe know how to do it, two, just don't want to do it themselves, and have someone else kind of like intervene, or just someone who just doesn't know how to do it or doesn't wish to know how to do it but would want some sort of magical intervention to help them, to help like if someone comes to a witch for an abricamino, it's been it's thousands and thousands of years of folks coming to witches and sorcerers for help, for aid, and that's kind of part of what I do. It's part of my life. It's part of my livelihood, is being able to do that. And it looks different, and it looks different to everybody. Like how people do that is totally different. Like if you're a professional in the witchcraft community, it looks different. Like what you're able to do and what you're able to provide is different. Like we have, like for example, for me, like I said, I co-own a pop-up apothecary and divination service. Ry is also a professional reader. Our friends Frankie and Olivia, they create content and in some ways share their perspective and teach online. We have teachers, to name a few. Austin Fuller, who is our friend, Bane X Bramble, is also one of my teachers. Matthew Venus is one of my teachers. The things that they know, there is a paywall to get the knowledge and the information that they have. So yeah, they make money. They make money off of the services and the things that they have. So yeah, that's I know I want to go into like what it means and all the ethical stuff, of like making money off of magic, but like how do you see making money making money off of magic, or using magic to make money? Like how do you see that?
Before I get to that answer, I think I want to add on to like what professional looks like to me, or what it means to me, in the aspect that for me, when someone labels themselves or identifies as a professional in any area, whether it's magic or a career like photography or massage therapy, whatever, when I hear the term professional, I expect that like you have years of experience leading up to what you're doing, whether that's self-taught and or taught by other people, and obviously actually putting it into practice. Because even though I've been reading tarot for like 7-8+ years, and even though I've even had my Instagram before it was even called the Mestizo Mystic, like I've had that platform for tarot like 4 going on 5 years, I really probably wouldn't use the term professional, or I would use the term professional for myself, but I'd only say that dates back maybe 2-3 years ago, just because that's when I really felt knowledgeable enough in my practice that I felt confident to take on that label, because both with what I've built experience-wise with tarot, but also magic in general, and being able to know how to offer those to people, or being able to determine what I feel needs to be done in a certain situation, whether that's doing magic for myself or for somebody else. So like if you're wondering whether or not you should even identify what you do, again, magic or otherwise, as a professional, my request of you is to really look at yourself introspectively, because we all can deal with imposter syndrome. Like some of us totally deserve the label professional, but are too afraid to step into that identity. And some of us may consider ourselves professionals when we're not anywhere near that capacity or experience to even take that on. So my request and invitation for y'all is to really look at how much you know. Like if you were to be given just a blank piece of paper and to write down everything you've learned and know how to do and can offer and can make from scratch, like look at that, and then I have a good feeling you'll be able to tell whether or not you could identify as a professional based on how much you're able to put on that paper. Just an example. But when it comes to money and magic, it's hard, because if we look at like certain pre-colonial cultures and traditions, the people who are like the shamans and the healers or the witches, mainly shamans and healers, witches are kind of a different story, but they were revered by the community for the abilities and powers they had, whether that was for healing or removing curses or, doing a ritual to make sure the crops are guaranteed for the next harvest. This was all done out of community, and oftentimes these people in the positions of shaman, of healer, of whatever the title was in that respective culture. From what I understand and what I've read, at least for a handful of cultures, it wasn't even like monetarily based. Like they would be given food, or they would be given like, a home. Like they would just be treated with respect and be provided all that they needed in order to live. But, fast forward to where we are today, and our world's, fucking dominated by capitalism, and pretty much at this point, anything we do, we should, find a way to make sure it's bringing in some type of income to support us, to make sure we have a roof over our head. That's not to say turn every single one of your hobbies or passions into a capitalist venture, because you'll probably burn out of the shit you love and start hating it. But when it comes to the modern day and doing doing magic for money, I just look at it as the modern day equivalent of that reciprocal exchange of money being that energy being exchanged for the practitioner's time, energy, and magic. And yeah, that's how I view it. And you'd mentioned something earlier about how sometimes practitioners, they make their own shit because they know how. But like, I'm someone who does constantly buy magical products from other practitioners because I vet who I'm getting it from, and if it's someone whose magic I trust, especially if it's in like an area or tradition that I'm inexperienced in, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna buy it. I have products from root workers and hoodoos and folkloric and traditional witches, and I have all those things because I don't know how to make those, or at least do those like packs with those spirits or create those products, and so I know how to put them to work. I know how to use them once I have them in my possession, but I can't say that I know how to make them the same way that person does. And I, again, trust the practitioners I do buy stuff from, whether it's Voga and Franny or Hoodoo Moses or Aconite Conjure or whoever we've plugged on this show. And yeah, I just see that as an exchange of energy too. It's like from practitioner to practitioner, it's like I know how much, time and energy and magic this probably took you to make, and I'm willing to reciprocate that with however much you're labeling this to cost. More thoughts might come up, but that's what I have right now when I think of paying money for magic.
No, I mean, the thing about it is what you're saying is 100% correct. It's the exchange of goods is something that has existed since folks have been practicing. It's just part of it. It's the exchange of goods is important to our survival. And, if someone came up to me and said, listen, I don't have anything to give, like I don't have any money, I can't afford, a candle, which has happened before. Like being in the vending community, like we do trades all the time. Like we trade goods all the time. Like where someone will come up to us, they won't say like, I can't afford it, but they're like, are you guys willing to do a trade? I'm like, absolutely. That sounds great. Like that's just part of like being part of this community. We like to, like, I'll trade a hand-bound journal for like a dope rosary. You know what I mean? Like we'll do that. The trading of services and goods is something that's been happening for a very long time. It's just now we live in a society that's so monetized, and everything has to be monetized. It's just everything has a paywall in some way, or some sort of accessing the goods, accessing the services, accessing the knowledge, because money is the way to survive now. Like you can't give me a goat for a spell. It just doesn't work. You can't give me a chicken. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to use I can't slaughter a chicken. It's just, I live in the city. Like it's not something that I grew up knowing how to do. My grandmother would be able to do it. She knows how to slaughter a chicken. It's fucking wild. It's something that I never want to see ever again. But that's just kind of part of you can't give me a chicken for a spell candle. You can't give me a chicken for a reading. I won't accept it. And that's hyperbole. Obviously, like that's not something that would happen. We know the world that we live in. The expectation is always money for the services and for the goods that you make. Trading, like I said, is something that we do. Also, sometimes I don't even trade. I just give stuff away because I'm just like, here, try it. Tell me how it is. Like, tell me, please let us know how this candle burns. Let me know how it smells. Let me know if it doesn't burn well. Let me know so that we can change the formula. Let me know if the books aren't right. Like if the paper isn't good, like let me know so that we can change it up. that's just part of like being part of like the vending community. Like we want to make sure that everyone's doing really well and all the products are, you know, just top tier. But yeah, the exchange of goods, that's part of it. That's part of like the world that we live in. And everything is monetized. Everything has to be monetized because that's just the way that we survive. But ways to be a professional practitioner. There are a million ways to do it. And I'm pretty sure folks will go ahead and say like probably the most lucrative, the one with the least amount of overhead when it comes to like providing, you know, yourself and receiving money is probably readings. You know, that's how I got started, was providing psychic readings to folks, which like my first event was, it was nerve-wracking and it was something that I never thought that I would be able to do. But once I like got into the groove of it, I was just like, I can do this. Like this is dope. Like I love doing it. I love doing the readings. I love, you know, doing psych, but like having my first like real client, someone giving me money for for my intuition, it's wild. It's a wild concept for someone to like give you and like give you so much, like to trust them with their hard-earned money, to trust your intuition. And most of these people are strangers. Like they meet you on the spot and they're just like, I'm going to give you this amount of money for you to give me a little bit of insight. What do the cards have to say? What do my spirits have to say? It's a wild concept. And people who don't believe in divination and believe in psychic readings will think it's fucking crazy that people are giving money for this, like are paying for this, you know? And I understand why. Like I understand that aspect, but you know, for folks who know better, who are more evolved, you know, it's not that, you know, it's not that far-fetched. Like I always say, like for your physical health, you see your doctor every 6 months, right? And for your spiritual health, or for your mental health, you would see your psychiatrist or your psychologist every week, more or less, or maybe once a month. But then for your spiritual health, I always recommend that you see your psychic at least once a month. Let you see you get a follow-up reading at least once a month to make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to be going, right? So yeah, it's not as far-fetched as you think. Like we're it's like that maintenance, that like spiritual maintenance from someone who, like, even if you do, I do readings for other tarot readers, you know, which is always very intimidating to me. I haven't shaken that anxiety of reading for other readers, especially if I know that they're readers, because I'm just like, like, what are they reading? You know, what are they reading when they're reading? Because my first like test reading was with Francisco. Like that was like the first time I ever read for someone that I didn't know very well, and I read for Franny, and I was just like, I was actually intimidated because like this is someone who reads professionally, who charges money for their readings, and I was just like, I don't know if I could do this. And the reason why I was reading for them was to see if I was able to do an event with them. At the time, with the place where they worked before, they were offering me a spot to read, and I was like, I've never done it before. I've never done it professionally. And they were like, okay, read for me. Tell me how you feel about reading for me. And so I did it, and I almost threw up because I was so nervous. But I got through it, and then they were just like, yeah, you're great. Like, you're fantastic. Like, let's get you on a table. And I was like, okay. And then like the first time, my first client, I remember I was like, oh my God, I remember what they look like too. I was like, this is my first client ever. And after that first client, I was just like, this is a lot easier than I thought. Like I'm a lot more capable. Not easy. I don't think easy is the right word, but I'm a lot more capable than I thought I was. Mm-hmm. Because I'd been doing it for so long for like myself and for like my friends and for like family members who wanted them. Like I was practicing for a really long time. Probably by that point, maybe like 5 years, something like that. Listen, my magical history is a fucking blur now. I don't know any timeline anymore, but yeah, like something around that, like 4 or 5 years. I'd gotten really familiar with tarot. You know, sometimes I even to this day I still get kind of like mixed up. I'm just like, I'm looking at the card, I was like, what was this? And like because you're actually actively reading the cards. If you're a good reader, you're actually reading the cards. You're reading what's in front of you. You're reading how each card relates to each other, not just what they mean individually, which is important, right? But you have to read, which is one of the things that I've always wanted to do. I wanted to do a tarot workshop because like it's a lot of the things that people don't like. It's something that you can't read out of a book is how to read the cards and how they relate to each other. That's not something that a lot of folks get right away. Like you kind of have to learn it through practice. Like if you had like the 10 of Cups and the 10 of Swords next to each other, like what the fuck does that mean? Because they're so different from each other, right? They're so like the 10 of Swords is like rock bottom. Like that is like the worst you're ever going to feel about anything ever in the world. Like there's no way but up. And that the 10 of Cups is like one of the happiest cards in the deck. Like it's my favorite card in the entire deck. The 10 of Cups is it's like so happy when you look at it. It's like it's like a relief when I see the 10 of Cups in a reading. But when you see it next to each other, what the fuck would that mean? Like how does that relate to it? Like how do you read that, right? And if like depending on the other cards around it, I would see like the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Cups being like there's no way anything can get any worse at all, and what you're looking forward to is like everything that you worked for, everything that you sacrificed, every single thing that you've experienced that was so painful is about to pay off. You know, you're about to experience the most like happiest whatever time of your life within the next couple of months or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's how I would interpret it depending on what else came out. So yeah, like being able to do that kind of gave me a little bit more confidence in being able to charge for it. You know, like my intuition wasn't just my intuition anymore. Like it became a skill where I felt comfortable monetizing it. And oh God, monetizing anything, that's like one of the hardest things to do. Like what is it worth? Like finding what something is worth or figuring out what something is worth is so difficult because it's like a lot of it's like you have to also monetize your labor. Like how much is my labor worth? Like that's so hard because like capitalism will tell you your time and your labor is worth at least $15 an hour. Like that's just what society will decide for you. Right. But I'm not, my time is not worth $15 an hour. It's worth way more than that. Right. So, you know, it's difficult. Like navigating professional magic is very difficult sometimes. And it's, I think, really important. Like what Ry said before is to really, you know, search inside of yourself to see, one, why are you doing it? Two, are you capable of doing it? And three, do you have the stamina to do it? Because this is really, it's really hard work. It's really, really difficult to do. So I don't know. That's just kind of like those were like thoughts that were pouring out of my brain.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult because it's for the most part, and from what I've seen with a lot of like practitioners who do make a living or at least a stream of income off of their magical practice, like it's usually a solo job. Like you're the director, you're the producer, you're the marketer, you're the accountant. Like you're doing everything. It's not just putting your it's not just putting your services up for offer out there to people. Like you have to do everything that leads up to that if you're wanting to actually make a profit on anything. And that's where I think like capitalizing off of any passion or project can really both be beneficial and also detrimental in the sense that like you might get tired of doing it and forget like where your original passion lied with whatever it is that you're doing. But in this topic, we're talking about magic specifically. I wanted to rewind and offer a hot take about tarot. So I still consider myself someone who reads, you know, with the knowledge of all the traditional cards and also intuition. But something that pisses me off is people who just label themselves like or identify as an intuitive reader and like just take that as leeway to kind of like pull cards, but then just riff off of whatever they feel is prevalent. And that can be for me like very hit or miss. Like if you really are genuinely in touch with your intuition, your court, and the court of the person sitting with you, I can see how that could work. But don't call yourself a tarot reader if like you're pulling, for instance, the 10 of Swords and saying like, oh yeah, you're totally gonna get that job next week. Like that's
doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense. But there's times where the one and only event that I ever read at, which was so nerve-wracking for me because this was the first time reading at an event, there were times I'd be giving a reading and then a message would come through for me, and I knew it was a message because like the hairs on my arm would start standing up, and as I'm relaying whatever I felt was being kind of like quote unquote downloaded to me to relate to them, like I would see an emotional reaction from that person, and it may not have had to do with any of the cards that we laid on the table, but rather something that was just coming through me at that time. So that's what I mean when I say I'm an intuitive reader. Like I may see a couple cards together and something related might pop off of that, but also like when I'm sitting with someone giving a reading, like I'm always asking my ancestors and guides to connect me with their court and help to deliver any messages that are pertinent both through the cards and in general. So that was just my hot take, because I see that labeled so often around places of like intuitive reader, and I feel like
we're all intuitive. Like
right.
it's you can't call yourself an intuitive reader as if it's different from anyone else. Everyone who divines as like who uses divination as some sort of service to the community, we're all intuitive. That's part of it. Your intuition is so much a part of what you do in that service. Like it's a silly thing to call yourself, if that's like what you're trying to advertise. I was like, I'm different because I'm intuitive. I was like, yeah, we're all intuitive. It's part of it. We're all intuitive in some way if we're offering this service, right?
Yeah, so that was just my spicy take, because yeah, that just bothers me. Or I mean, another topic we can cover too right now is when it comes to creating products and services, like the difference between, and we've spoken on this topic before, but of cultural appropriation and cultural exchange and appreciation. Because if you just read a book about curanderismo, for instance, and there's an exact recipe in there to, for instance, like I make Florida water, but the recipe I used was directly from one of Erica Buenaflor's books, and that's the recipe I use if I make it from scratch. But I wouldn't feel comfortable selling that unless I found a way to make it my own. Like, yes, I go through my own like consecration process of it, but when I'm looking at the products and ingredients that I use, it's to the T what's in her book. And so I wouldn't sell that, because then I feel like I'm just copy and pasting someone else's formula and then marketing that without doing any work on my end to actually make, like, what makes that my product versus me capitalizing off of someone else's work.
Well, okay, I'd argue that you doing the work within itself to make it is work enough. The thing that I think needs to be paid attention to is giving credit where credit is due. You know, being able to say, it's like, like if someone comes up to you and says, so you make this Florida water by hand, and you actually giving credit, it's like, yes, I learned it from this book or this person through this class, through, like, that's totally fine. Personally, to me, like, that's just how I see it. Where that, because that is that, I understand where you're coming from, where like you putting that Florida water out there without actually giving credit where you actually learned it is appropriation. That's taking something that isn't yours and capitalizing on it and making a profit off of it. But you taking something like a recipe that is public, right, and making it and then selling it because you made the product, and then also kind of, giving appreciation to where you learned how to make it and making it very clear, like maybe even having like a little description based on this Florida water is based on a recipe found in so-and-so book or so-and-so source or so-and-so testimony, whatever it is. I don't think there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. I think there is there is a line that's a very thin line. It's a very thin line where you can't just take something, especially if it's not of your culture, and start selling it. Like, for example, this is not magical, but something that I just saw on Instagram was this company that sells mahjong sets. And for anyone that doesn't know what mahjong is like a traditional Chinese game that I love. It's like one of my favorite games in the entire world. And it's like it consists of like tiles that has Chinese characters on it. Very traditional. It's an ancient game. It's thousands of years old. And this company is run by a white woman, and It made me uncomfortable at first because I was just like, what's happening here? Because I've seen this before. There has been a mahjong company that was owned by a couple of white girls, and they changed everything. They changed the suits. They took all the Chinese characters out, and I was like, that is appropriation, 100%. But I went on this Instagram and I went through their product list, and everything is almost exactly the same. They didn't take any of the tradition out of it. They didn't take anything, they didn't rob it in any way. It was just like a game that was taught to her by like her grandmother, who learned it from like Jewish immigrants in like New York, which is true. Like Jewish folks in New York took to mahjong in a very influential way. They like from the Chinese immigrants, they were able to. Anyways, the Jewish culture has its place in playing mahjong. So I went into it and I was like, okay, I don't really have a problem with this. There is appreciation. There is credit where credit is due. I like it. Everything still looks the same. It's very recognizable. The Chinese characters are still there. But it's hers, and she makes a profit of it, a huge profit of it. Like one set of mahjong tiles was like $400, which is, it's not cheap, but also mahjong is also not cheap. Like you can't get a mahjong set for very cheap. Like that's not a thing. So there is a line. There is a line that you need to recognize when it comes to selling products, especially with something that doesn't really necessarily belong to you, and making a profit off of it. It's very easy to cross that line and go into like the kind of the areas of appropriation that, you know, you really can't. Like you really, like I'm not going to start selling like
Palo Santo.
Palo Santo. That's tough. That's a tough thing because I use Palo Santo. I wouldn't sell it. But we could sell it because Franny's Mexican.
Yeah, I was like, wait, there's a loophole there.
We could sell it because Franny's Mexican. But also, it's like I also have a very good relationship with the spirits of this land. Here's the thing. Okay, so it's kind of like, I can't like culturally, socially, it would be disrespectful to do something like that. But then like magically, spiritually, maybe not, because like, okay, that is a spirit of the land that I live on. Like I live in California. So like, would the spirits be okay with it? Maybe the spirits might be okay with it, me being able to use it because I have a good relationship with them, but selling it, I don't know. That's tough for me. Like, and we're the ethics of being able to sell magic. I know that's important. I personally, I would get away with a lot of things because my business partner is Mexican, you know? So like, you know, that's different. And a lot of the things that we do sell, like the apothecary at the booth, most of it is Francisco. Like the oil bases, all of the base oils for all of the anointing oils that we have, that's Francisco's recipe. She makes all of the oil, the herb blends that we have. Like she does those. That's her recipe. She does those. Those are traditional Mexican folk magic that she does. A lot of the crafty stuff is mine. But then at the same time, like I make a rosary that's made of. I make a chainmail, like a pattern on my rosaries that's chainmail, and that's European. You know, so it's like it's tough. Like where do you draw the line? You know, it's difficult because it's like what if like the way that I bind a book is traditionally French? You know, it's like, am I entitled to sell that because like the way that I bind a book is traditionally something from like another country? Which I think it actually is because the stitch that I use to bind my books is a French stitch. So, you know, it's tough. Like it really is tough to really think about where you draw the line socially when it comes to selling products. I really don't think that you can go to a certain culture that does not belong to you. If you start selling spell work that is from like Haiti and you're not Haitian, like why are you doing that? Like that's definitely something you shouldn't be doing. We already know that there are authors who are not hoodoo practitioners who sell hoodoo books. You know, we know that that's definitely appropriative. But like is it appropriation or is it appreciation? There's a very thin line that I don't know. Like I think it's like a case to case basis. Like you can't just kind of put a blanket over it. And I'm also not here to cancel anybody. Like if you sell a cool product, like I'm not gonna ask you any questions. If it's a dope product, I'm gonna be like, okay, let's try it out. Like I always ask people, I was like, so how did you do this? How did you do that? And it's difficult because it's like when you're out in the market, it's difficult to like have a conversation with everyone who makes a product. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like something like online where someone has a platform, a presence, like it's a lot easier to vet them, to be like, okay, this is coming from somewhere that's like much more, I don't know. That's so hard. And this is coming from someone who runs a business. It's difficult. It's really, really difficult to see like where I stand with like the ethics of selling products. It's tough.
Yeah. I think it boils down to integrity and discernment, like discern who's making the products, what's their lineage, where have they learned what they've learned, like know the background of who you're buying from as much as you can, so that you can know in peace what you're giving your money to as a business, as a practitioner. That's what gives me comfort. Like that's why I buy from the practitioners that I do, because I know their backgrounds. I know the reputation they have behind the products that they make. And I have my own personal sense of integrity, which is why, like for the Florida water example, which is why I personally feel uncomfortable using an exact recipe, despite even putting the work in for it to make it, to then sell it. Because for me, that's like if I took a recipe offline for a really great mac and cheese, and then I start making it and then telling people, oh yeah, like this is my recipe, or like even not disclosing where that's from, for me still like goes against my integrity, like what you brought in, Voga, like giving credit where credit is due. Yes, I agree with. And I also don't want people thinking that they can just go pick up an occult book or pamphlet, take a recipe out of it, make it, credit that book, and then start selling it for profit.
Well, yeah, I mean, Erica didn't put that recipe in that book for you to sell it. Like, she put it in that book so that you'd be able to make it. Like, I understand. Right. That's what I'm saying, is that line is so thin. Yeah. So I understand where you're coming from, and I get it. Like the ethical part of it, like where you say like, okay, I want to just kind of change it up a little bit so that it's mine, right? Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, even if you make it yours, like there's still credit where credit should be, due there. It's like I made it myself. I tweaked a little bit of it, but the original recipe is from her. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, there's always going to be people who think that's a problem. Whatever you do, there's always going to be someone who's just like, this is an issue. I don't like this. Those culture vultures, they're going to be like, or not those culture vultures, those cancel vultures. They're going to be like, you didn't do this 100% correct. I'm not here for that. I am not like, girl, I have no time for canceling anybody. I don't care. I really like, if this was like 3 years ago, I would have been like on that boat. But like, at this point, I'm just like, there's so many other people who are doing that for me already. Like, I don't have time to like sit around and find out like if you should be canceled or not. Like, I just don't have the time for it anymore. But I get what you're saying. It's difficult to navigate sometimes. But you're right. I think you should go out of your way to make sure that it's 1, credited, 2, yours. Absolutely. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there anything else specific you want to touch on when it comes to professional magic?
Yeah, don't do it just because you think you're going to make a lot of money off of it. Do it because you think that it's needed in your community. That is number 1. Like, if you are offering magical services or magical products to people, make sure that 1, it works. 2, you're not selling snake oil. Ry, can you describe what the fuck that means? What does snake oil mean?
Like knowing that you're selling bullshit, but under the guise that it's gonna
exactly
help you. Like basically like a placebo. Like, don't sell people shit when you know that it's not even gonna do anything.
Exactly. Like, don't be a fucking fraud. Like, go out there because you know what you're doing is correct and works. Like, don't be a fucking fraud. And do it because you know that the community needs it. It's something that's needed within your community, and people. Like, you're supposed to be doing it to help people. The services and the products that you give are supposed to be helping people. And that should be the reason why you're going into it. Like, what is the reason why you want to be a professional practitioner? Like, okay, you want to make money. That should be secondary. It's secondary because you need to, you're doing it for your community. And that's a great way to serve your community, you know, to offer services, to offer products, to offer magical wares and things like that. That's a fantastic way to serve your community, is to have those things, because you have the knowledge to be able to make these products. And you know, if everything is kosher and you're doing everything right, then do it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you shouldn't. I think everyone should be able to, you know, make money off of their skills, but do it for the right reasons. God damn it.
Yeah, I'd even add on to that, like, consider if there's something else that you can offer the community before even settling on magic. Like, do you have other skills or talents that, whether or not you can make money off of it, that you can offer to other people, either online community or in local community, to help? Because you may be good at magic, but that may not be what your community really actually needs, or maybe not even from you directly. Maybe they need magic from a different practitioner, but what you can offer is, you know, making food for the houseless population where you live, or making art for, I don't know, fucking art there. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many options of what you can do, that just because you are good at magic doesn't mean you should immediately start to work towards becoming a professional practitioner. Like for me, for instance, I'm almost done with school to become a therapist, and like that's going to be my full-time career. And on the side, I'll be, you know, doing magic to the extent that I can for income, but that's not going to be the main way I'm bringing in income, nor extending myself to the community, because I know my calling is as a therapist. So magic in this instance for me is secondary, and that's okay. There's some people where it is primary and that is their main source of income and what they're meant to be doing. And for people like me, it's something that's complementary, both in the healing profession. Mental health is just as healing as magic sometimes. And, but for me, it's like the actual career of what I'm doing is primary to magic. And that's not to say that magic is also supplemental to becoming a therapist. Like, I've used magic to help me learn shit, and I'm likely gonna, to my best ethical ability, use magic in the mental health field to make sure that I'm able to give clients the best mental health treatment that they're able to receive. So see how your talents can like overlap with one another and complement one another. Don't immediately think like, I gotta be the next fucking online Merlin selling their shit.
Yeah, and then on the you know, the other side of that is, my goal is to have a brick and mortar. Like, I want a shop. I want a physical shop where people can go to purchase products and receive services. I do. And the reason why is, one, I do want to make money off of this. This is something that I love to do. This is something that I really enjoy doing, is using my skills and using my knowledge to serve my community, and also having a place where our community can gather. You know, I coming from a place where I've spent a lot of time with other business owners, especially folks who have kind of become pillars in my community, and becoming friends with them. For example, like my friends Sal and Popey, who own the Crooked Path. They have a shop that serves their community very well. A lot of folks know about it. A lot of folks go to the shop. That is what I want. I want a place where folks come to get what they need, to, you know, get the resources they need. Like the Crooked Path has one of the best apothecaries I've ever seen in an occult shop. They have herbs and powders that I've never even heard of, you know, and they're so knowledgeable. And that is what is needed in a community, are people who are knowledgeable and also have the resources that you're looking for. And that's what I want. And also LA is so saturated. LA is so saturated with occult shops. It's not even funny. But like, the thing about it is, it's the visibility. You know what I mean? Like, a shop that's owned by two queer people of color, it's not very it's not you know, as prominent. So, you know, it depends. Like, why are you going into it? Figure it out and make sure that you're doing it for a lot more than just making sure that you can you know, you make millions and millions of dollars. Even though, hey, that's a goal, that's cool too. Make all the money that you fucking you can make. That's the only way you can survive. If you become the next I don't know, if you become the first millionaire occultists, then sure, whatever. From owning a shop, I don't think that's. I'm pretty sure there are occultists who are millionaires, but anyways, that's not the point. But what I'm saying is that, like, ethically, I know it's a very difficult thing to navigate, but you know, if your community recognizes you, if you know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing is right, then I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what you're doing is wrong. You know, just make sure everything is good and nice, and you're good to people, and you do it to help people, and you are helping people, and you serve your community, and make sure that your community is fed and housed and, you know, helped as much as you possibly can, while at the same time making your own coin. Do it.
Mm-hmm. And just know, if you plan on trying to scam or fraud, maybe you'll get away with it for a time being, but at some point you'll be found out. Like, all the time, something happens where you either expose yourself because of stupidity or you get exposed.
Let me tell you something. I am a first-hand witness for folks who are fucking frauds, or not even frauds. They could be 100% real. But just because you're a piece of shit, you will fail. You will always fail. If you are not here for your community will come back, and they will come back for you. That is just how it is. If you are going to claim that you are part of a community like witches and sorcerers and, you know, ritual workers and root workers and whatever, magical practitioners, and you claim that you're here for that community and you're not, and you use everything for your own personal gain, for your narcissism, for your own ego, you will fail every single time, and you will not be able to pick yourself up. I'm telling you. Because once it happens once. This community is small. We all know each other. We know about each other, and we know your movements. We know it. You will fail. So go into it being kind, go into it serving your community, and go into it honestly, with transparency and honesty. Be sincere about what you're doing. Because if you don't, you will get caught in your lies, and you will fail. I'm not going to say any names on this very public platform, but just know it's happened, and it's currently happening.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Fuck around and find out.
And bitches find out. I'm telling you guys, don't fuck with the community. Don't fuck with your community. It's not going to work. You are not going to win. You will always lose. If you are a liar, if you are a deceiver, if you are a piece of shit, if you are a narcissist, if you go about your ego, if it's all about your clout and your following, you will fail. Every time. With that said, because I think this is a very good, perfect time for me to do a shameless plug. If you are looking for services and you are looking for magical products, hopefully by the time this episode airs, Vita Mortis LA will go. We are going to have an online shop where we are going to be shipping products countrywide, nationwide. Is on your side. So follow Vita Mortis _LA on Instagram, because that will be our main storefront, which is our storefront's mainly going to be the Instagram page, and we're currently working on it right now. Starting an online shop is very difficult. I don't know if anyone knows this, but it's very, very difficult to figure out. It's very complicated. There's a lot of things that you need to figure out, like even just like figuring out which box you need to ship something is complicated. Because you have to figure out the dimensions of the box, making sure what fits in what if someone only orders one. It's very difficult. And then like figuring out like shipping is so hard. That's like, it's literally what I'm trying to figure out now. And it's so fucking hard. And then figuring out, okay, so we have to have a return address. Never thought of that. Because we don't want to put our home addresses on fucking packages that we're sending across the nation, right? Like... Anyways, we're figuring out right now. Hopefully by the time this episode airs, we're going to have an online shop. Vita Mortis _LA on Instagram is going to be our main storefront. We're also going to be offering online services, which means that we're going to be doing readings, either bone or tarot, via Zoom. And as well as offering workshops. We're going to be offering our own workshops through the Vita Mortis brand, in addition to potentially more pop-ups around LA, the LA area. So if we do a pop-up in LA and you're in the LA area, please come and visit us and look at our booth. We worked very hard on it, and it's also very expensive. So we like it when people see it's really pretty. I was like, oh my God, this booth is the prettiest booth I've ever seen. I was like, thank you very much. It was expensive. So thank you for saying it's pretty. So yeah, follow that, and give me your money. Give me your money for the cool things that we make. We have candles. They're all hand poured. Ry has one or two.
Two. I've sent them Muerte and the Divine Mother one.
Which one do you like more? I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that.
No, I love them both, but scent-wise, the Santa Muerte one is something different.
It really is. It's such a. It's scented so beautifully. It's nag champa and jasmine. It's so beautiful. That smell, that scent throw is so. Also, what makes our 7-day devotionals different is we scent that their fragrance, that we have a fragrance in them, and they do really smell divine. They're so beautiful. And then the Divine Mother one is scented with rose.
They're beautiful. They burn so nicely.
Yeah, and they're soy blend. They're not 100% paraffin. They're, I think, 60% soy and blended with paraffin, which is poisonous. But whatever. We made ours with a little bit more soy, so it's a little bit more. It burns a lot better. It burns a lot cleaner, and it's not as toxic. And then we also have ritual oils and anointing oils, as well as herbs and some hand-bound books that I bind with my 2 hands. Actually, for the last Blasphemy, I bound so many books. I bound 20 books for Blasphemy because I bound so many in a row. Like I got like a cut on my finger from pulling the thread so tight. Yeah, it got really bad. I was like, I need to stop. My fingers were stuck together because of all the glue. It was awful. But they're gorgeous, and they're talismans. They're inherently talismans. As soon as you scribe your name on that first page, there's an incantation on the first page. If you scribe your name on that, that book is inherently a talisman. And then we also make some jewelry pieces, beautiful rosaries that I make from hand, sterling silver and precious, semi-precious stones. So yeah, check that out as soon as it's out. Please follow and share.
Finally, have a YouTube, y'all. If you want to follow me on YouTube, it's the same as my Instagram handle at the Mestizo Mystic.
There's no content on there yet, but
yet there will be.
What are you going to do? What kind of content do you want to film? I'm curious.
That's where I'm lost. Like, I have so many ideas and I don't know where to start. I mean, I have ideas people have given me, but also like, demonstrating novena magic or talking about things we've talked about on this podcast, but maybe in a bit more detail or for my...
Well, let me tell you something. Something that you don't necessarily think is as interesting as you think is until you actually start producing it are vlogs. Like, start recording your life. People actually love that. I love that shit. As mundane as your day could possibly look, people love looking how like your life looks in some aspects. So like, and that's nothing that you need an idea for. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you in some way, like maybe at like an off chance you have like a really busy weekend, you have a very eventful weekend, pick up your camera every couple times like throughout the day and vlog it. Like just talk to the camera, and it's really interesting to do. I personally love vlogs. And I also really love editing them because I edit them for Frankie, and I love editing. Like getting like a little bit of like an insight of like what their days look like is really fun. And I think that's something that your following or your audience would love to see is like what Ry's, because as far as like what they know about you is the podcast and your Instagram.
Yeah.
What does the everyday of Ry look like? That's what I want to know.
Unemployed, sleeping until 1, forgetting to eat until 8 p.m. It's riveting, really.
Oh my God. There's something in there. There's something in there that's really interesting to watch. So, but I like the idea of you doing like novenas, like demonstrations.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. And then my Discord server's up and running. I'm still debating whether or not to make that accessible only through like a Patreon page. So I haven't released it publicly, but if you do want access to it, you can join my channel on Instagram, which you can find in my profile. And occasionally I'll resend out invite link within that channel, just because I'm still figuring out whether or not I wanted to just freely make it public or not, as I figure out how I want to form this community. But yeah, I have lots of stuff in the works. I'm not going to share too much details because, you know, evil eye shit, but I got lots of stuff planned.
Yeah, that's exciting. Love that. Okay, cool. So go follow all those things. Y'all have been here for a long time. Obviously, I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. There's no fucking content on it, but I've had that YouTube for like a year and a half now. There's no content on it. Maybe I'll start making content for it. I don't know. We'll see.
You should start doing vlogs with all the shit that you be doing.
I know, but the thing about it is that when I'm doing all those shits that I be doing, I forget to pick up my camera.
Yeah.
Because I'm so busy. I can barely like stand still for like a couple of minutes to talk to the camera. Like I have a couple of vlogs on my Instagram. Like I vlogged our promo shoot a couple of months ago, and that was really fun. And they're really fun to edit. Like I love editing vlogs. They're so much fun. But like it's so hard sometimes. It's so hard to pick up the camera and just start vlogging. And it's not even a camera. Like I vlog on my phone, you know, it's like, I have no excuse. I forget, like, I don't habitually like pick up my phone and start recording, but you're right. Like that's just good content, is doing the events that I vend at, and, you know, talking business and like making candles and making a book. That's a cute vlog to make a book. God only knows. We'll see.
Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Red Text Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ry, aka the Misty Soul Mystic on Instagram and YouTube and Threads. Yeah.
And my name is Voga and Ry Deville.
And we'll see you on our next Unholy Communion.
Goodbye.